Hello everyone and welcome to part 2 of the Rayman Let's Play over here on the Fromark channel, and this time around I'm going to keep things moving around in the Dream Forest. Gonna see what's going on at the Mosquito's nest. So far right off the bat, you get that cage if you go up top. There's mushroom platforms there and walk around. Now this is a pretty tricky section that you gotta watch out for. Anytime you see those pointy looking anti-plum things, as you can see I die right here. And this is just the first of many deaths in this playthrough. That one I didn't really have to do any jump cut editing, but there will be plenty of time for that throughout this playthrough for sure. But now that I got that death out of the way, I will mosey on over here. Yeah, riding the plum. And I need to buy some plums. They're so good. Yeah. But I'm not really sure what those pointy bit things are supposed to be. I just know I gotta watch out for the pointy bits. I like the little detail of the animation whenever you punch the fish and his teeth shatter there. That makes 2 Electoon cages down. And there's the checkpoint. There's the checkpoint. I will get the checkpoint. And bouncing on the plums again. Plums. I was about to go up there and then I realized I can't do that yet. I gotta get the next ability that you get, the next power-up ability. So I just kind of wander on through here, ride the plums again. Maybe I should name my next album Riding the Plums. Hey, if you punch that, whatever that enemy generator thing is, you'll be, yeah! But if you punch that enemy generator right on the lips, it'll stop it for a couple of seconds. So far, this part 2 is in shambles as I kind of get myself back together after a crushing defeat. And what I mean by that is, behind the scenes at Fromark, I had gotten my hopes up on buying a piece of land, and let's just say it kind of fell through. But I'm still here, and I'm still here to bring you the Rayman playthrough, and I'm getting back to it right now. But yeah, most of the levels in Mosquito's Nest are where the difficulty really starts to pick up in this game, and this is the one that really kind of gives you a taste of some of the difficulty going forward. But it just gets more absurd in places after this. But obviously there are several levels in Dream Forest I'm going to have to go back through to get to the rest of the Electoon cages, but that will not be a problem. Because of course the many times that I've played through Rayman, it has gotten a lot easier to be able to find the Electoon cages based on memory. I feel like the Electoon cages are actually fairly easy to, as opposed to just getting from point A to point B. Wait for that plum to swing back around. Definitely don't want to get knocked into the water because, well, just like in Crash Bandicoot 1, water is bad. There are surprisingly no underwater levels in Rayman 1, which, not really a loss. I feel like that would probably bog it down a little bit. But then again, it would be cool if Rayman had like a swim ability in this game. And if I hadn't really talked much about it in the last part, with Rayman 2, that seems to be the one that everybody universally loves and that there's like a billion different ports of. I'm sure the same is the case for Rayman 1, but I seem to hear more about Rayman 2 than anything. But I haven't really played much of Rayman 2. I think I've played like 15 minutes at the most and just never came back to it. I have it on my PS3 though. So maybe I'll get around to it one day and maybe I'll do a Let's Play of it one day. It's pretty cool though that there's an Easter egg in Rayman 2. I believe it's in Rayman 2, where you can play the original demo of the game where it looks more like Rayman 1 was designed, a 2D side-scroller style, whereas Rayman 2 brought this guy into the 3D, the three-dimensional world. And I feel like there's no other game in the series quite like the first Rayman. I feel like it's just completely different from the rest of the franchise because there's no like side characters that return. We never hear from Mr. Dark or the Mosquito or any of these other enemies again. There are a couple I do believe that come back, but not very many. But I will say that even though there are the 2D games, Rayman Legends and Rayman Origins, that kind of bring back the 2D art style, they're still not quite like this game here. There's really nothing quite like Rayman 1 in my personal opinion. Ah yes, bring that beautiful music back. There's a couple of those levels back there were kind of dead silent with just ambience. Of course, the music in this game, I can't stress enough, is some of the best jams I've ever heard in a video game in my entire life. Oh! And yeah, that happened. But let's get right back on with it. I didn't die too far away from where that happened, so the show goes on. Try not to get hit by any of the fish. Oh. Yeah. The fish. Yeah. But yeah, one of these days I'll get around to playing Rayman 2. It seems like a really cool game from everything I've played and seen. But anyways, here's a recolor of the Mosquito boss, who is a little bit angrier than that previous Mosquito boss. I believe this is just called Mosquito. I don't know if the same applies to the one that I battled earlier. I like the boss theme here. If I'm not mistaken, each boss fight gets their own specific boss theme. This one just flat out rocks with that guitar solo. But yeah, it's a little bit distracting listening to these tunes and trying to commentate over top of it because the soundtrack, I could just leave this commentary blank and be fine with it. Just listen to the soundtrack and you can all listen to it. But I definitely recommend you all go check out the Rayman soundtrack. And if you happen to have the original PS1 copy, it doubles over where if you put it in the CD player, you can just play the soundtrack that way on your stereo. A lot of early PS1 games and some Sega Saturn games do that as well. It's pretty neat, but it's something that they... Like, sometime in the late 90s, it stopped being a thing for some odd reason. But to me, that seemed like a pretty cool little selling point bonus. All my video games let me listen to the soundtrack separately. But anyways, the goal here is just to dodge all these fruits and just hit the Mosquito a few times and eventually deliver that final bonk. When the timing is right, boom! Yeah, that's gonna do it, folks. That's the end of the Mosquito battle, and you may think that's the end of the Dream Forest, but I gotta backtrack a little bit. Yeah. It's, of course, Rayman doing his little victory dance there. But anyways, let's keep things rolling right along, shall we? Great job, Rayman, but you'll be going through more perilous traps. I hope this will help you to avoid the worst. Pew, pew. Now you can grab things with your fist. To grab, use the square button. But yeah, now I can swing off of these fancy things here. Which I do believe... I gotta double check that. I'm gonna double check that before I say what those are, but I think they're called lums. But yeah, I gotta do some backtracking, folks, so why do I have to? Well, of course, I think I mentioned it before. I've got to get the Electoon cages, and now that I have all the abilities needed to do so, I will just spend a couple of moments here to get all that taken care of. And plus, for those of you who don't know where any of these are, it gives you a chance to see where they are. Sometimes they're hidden in really odd places. Sometimes you just need a special power to get to them. But no worries. Just like Rayman says, yeah! Unfortunately, you can't just select each individual level that you want to go to after you beat them, but you can get through most of these pretty quickly if you know what you're doing and if you can avoid all the difficult obstacles. Not gonna waste my time with that bonus round. Even though this isn't music, I do like that there's at least a ambience to capture the mood of being in a swampy jungle environment. Like I said, the soundtrack for this game is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And now I just gotta find that last Electune cage, wherever it may be. It's gotta be around here somewhere. Plum. Plum, 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 plum. Sometimes I just like to say plum. Alright, anyway, that's gonna do it for the Electune cages, folks. Yeah! Well, it's going to do it for the Electune cages for this first section anyway. Pink Plant Woods. And just like Electune cages, sometimes extra lives are hidden in places as well. Though I think I already mentioned that in the last part. You have to bear with me, folks, because sometimes there's gaps in between recording parts over here. But now that I have that grabby ability where I can swing off the circular pink things, I need to look that up. I'll tell you what, folks, if you bear with me or just put it in the comments section, I'll get back to you in part 3. Look out for them hammers. Them bullet/hammer. Seems kind of neat. Bullets that just have hammers attached to them. Seems twice as deadly. Yeah! Keep things rolling right along. That's going to do it for Pink Plant Woods, and I'm going to go back through the Anguish Lagoon. And I feel like, yeah, I need to get up there, which I can, in fact, do now. Because I couldn't before. Can I play the piano anymore? Of course you can. Well, I couldn't before. Yeah, there's that swingy thing I can't quite get to. Now I can. Just gotta knock that plum out. And there's one cage. And directly below is the other. And that's going to be the last of the Electune cages for Anguish Lagoon. So now here I can backtrack right back to the map. Which at the beginning of each of these, there's that little rewind button sign that allows you to go back to the map. But those are only in the first level of each, or first sub-level of each level. Just like that one right there. But anyways, I got some unfinished business here in the Mosquito's nest, and looks like I will finish off part 2 with that little nugget of information. Of course, watch out for those things that got me earlier. Don't want to get got it again. And then just continue to look out for those. And those fish. Fish. Yeah, there we go. Just kind of stay out of my way, fish. And then, let me see. I need to bounce this over here. Yeah. Ooh. Get out of here. Ooh. That takes care of all that nonsense. Oh, wait, there's more. You know, for the most part, most of these different worlds have different enemies. Some of them are around for multiple levels, though. Or multiple worlds. Like this dude here, he shows up later. But anyways, that's going to do it for part 2, folks. Because, would you look at the time? That's the end of the part. See you in part 3.